Hi everyone, and welcome to 2026's February Horror Reel Roundup. For February, I have 5 films to discuss with you, but quickly before we begin, I have just a few disclaimers. Number 1, spoiler warning for each film that will be talked about today. Each film will be discussed in release order, and apologies if your favorite film doesn't get too much time with me today, or if I didn't even catch one of your favorite movies that released this month. Also, any controversy surrounding any film will not be discussed. At the end of the video, all of the films will be ranked on an A through F grading scale, with S tier being the highest and D- being the lowest. And while I am ranking these films, none of them are to be ranked by their technical abilities or how good they are, just by my enjoyment. And by the end of the video, we will have updated our yearly tier list with February's releases. Also, ranking/numerical scores are a bit silly anyways, so this is just in good fun. Also, these are my opinions, and while they are subject to change, as of the upload date, these were and are my opinions at this time. Lastly, timestamps will be in the description if you'd like to hear about a specific movie, and comment below your thoughts as we go. Now, let's begin February's Horror Reel Roundup with Whistle. Whistle surprised me a lot, actually. I assumed it would be just, a basic slasher, which it kind of is, but it's very Final Destination coded in like the best ways possible. I love Final Destination as a franchise, and just the way death is following you and it's inescapable. I find that premise just in and of itself to be very interesting, and I feel like Whistle does a really good job with that premise. It's got some very, very, very cool deaths. My favorite being Dean's when he gets into his car accident. The way that it's shot and the way that it looks is incredible. It's very frightening. It's very just raw, and it happens, and it's terrifying. Also, I'm blanking on his name, but also the guy that dies in the factory. The way that he just kind of dissipates in thin air like he was going to later in life is genuinely shocking and a really jarring visual that I really, really, really loved a lot. Ralph is his name. Ralph's death. I also just love the characters in the movie. All of them had something to them that attached themselves to me, and it made me feel for them. Specifically Ralph, actually. And I love that Ralph looks like a supervillain like halfway through the runtime, and that's just what he looks like, and it's so funny. It's a really cool bit, really funny bit, and I loved it a lot. But yeah, I liked the protagonists a lot. I liked our final girls. They were really sweet, and they were very strong, and they worked together, and I love that. And I like how they used, kind of in the vein of Final Destination Bloodlines, and how they kill themselves essentially and stop their heart to defeat death, or at least prolong its inevitability. And yeah, I thought that was really neat. I thought that was really cool. One character I did not like, though, is the secondary antagonist, the priest, the kid at school that sells drugs. He didn't feel necessary, and he kind of felt almost shoehorned into the plot, which wasn't my cup of tea personally, but he didn't ruin the movie for me, which is great. I think he added some suspense, which was okay towards the end of the movie. I also love this really neat thing where the movie begins with the whistle, but then also ends with the whistle, which is pretty cool. And it also kind of sets up sequels if it wants to go down that route. And I wouldn't be against a sequel of this movie, because there's plenty of really cool ideas with just death in and of itself, and how people die and how it can catch up to you in various ways. And I was very happy with what this movie is. And I love a slasher. It's really, I said it, I think last time, it's just really, really hard for me to hate on a slasher, and this one just does it really, really well. Next is Dracula, and I have been so flip-floppy on how I feel about this movie. Anytime I talk to someone who loves this movie, it makes me love this movie so much more. But every time I talk to someone who doesn't like the movie, it makes me like the movie a little bit less. And I'm just so flip-floppy on it that it's the most middle-of-the-road movie for me. I love the Dracula story, just in general. And I feel like this one is fine in and of itself. It has a lot of really, really cool visuals. It's a gorgeous film. I knew exactly the moment I realized I was going to at least love what this movie looked like was when the army is approaching the hill and they come up. It's really red and they have all of the heads on spikes. It was so cool. I loved that a lot. And then also at the very end when Dracula dies and he kind of wisps away in the wind, it's gorgeous and it's beautiful. And I love the set design, oh my God, and the overall look of the film and the costume design. It's just all just so visually pleasing and incredible. But then I also just really, really loved Dracula's relationship with Elizabeth and how in love they are with each other. And I love that so much. And I love when they're together. I think my favorite bit in this whole entire movie is just the entire opening. It starts with them just in love with each other, just making love to each other. And they're in the middle of war, and all of his guards are coming, Dracula's guards are coming to pull him off of her to get ready for battle. And he's just consistently just coming back and wanting more love from her, and she loves him so much, and they're just constantly not going at each other, but with each other, up until he's physically dragged away from her when he accidentally kills her. It's just a really heartbreaking moment, because like you can see how much love they have for each other, and when that happens, he just his heart breaks, man, and it's really hard to watch. And then he denounces God and he kills the priest, and it's like, oh my God, he loves this woman so much. And then now he's condemned, and it's incredible. I love that a lot. But man, there's some really silly stuff going on in this movie. First off, the silliest thing are the gargoyles at the very end, and just the gargoyles in general. I know Dracula usually has some sort of like sidekicks. Don't take that term literally, but the gargoyles are so silly. I don't know. They just don't feel right for me. And the very end, when they turn into little boys, insinuates that Dracula it's killed like 13 little boys for some reason, and has kidnapped them. And why? I don't know. It's not explained at all. Also, every other character, Jonathan, I just don't really care for. Maria doesn't really fit for me. She feels almost too what's the word? Eccentric. She feels almost too eccentric for me, and feels almost out of place. And then the priest is just so, like, he knows everything already, so we're not learning as we go. He's just telling us what's happening, and that is exactly what's happening. And so he shows up, does his job, and leaves constantly throughout the movie. And I don't connect with that at all. I want to see some struggle. I want to see something else. And he just doesn't really pull at me. But yeah, I think just the saving grace of this movie is just Dracula's relationship and how much love there is there. And I love that so much. And then also just how gorgeous this movie is. But like I said, yeah, I'm just very flip-floppy on what's going on. Like I said, all the Jonathan stuff is just whatever. Also, it doesn't take Elizabeth very long to just leave Jonathan. I know that she's under like the perfume and like the spell, but there's no pushback. It just happens. And not that I'm upset that we get more Dracula and Elizabeth, but I'm more upset that it didn't take much for Dracula to get her back. I was a little surprised by that. Kind of caught a little off guard with that. But overall, I think there's a lot to love, but then there's also just a lot to be desired as well. And that's just why I have it just really, really middle of the road. I could love it one day. I could just kind of not dislike it, but like love it a lot less one day. And so I'm just fairly indifferent, and that's okay. Next, we have Cold Storage, and this movie has an incredible cast. Joe Keery, Georgina Campbell, Liam Neeson, Sosie Bacon. What the hell is going on? Why are they here? I don't know, but I'm so for it. First off, Joe Keery and Georgina Campbell have like the most natural chemistry I've ever seen out of two people. Just them talking to each other kept me in the movie the entire time they're on screen. I love it so much. But then also Liam Neeson, and I'm forgetting her name in the moment, but his partner throughout the movie also just have this natural chemistry. And when they're talking to each other, it's just so compelling, and I loved it a lot. Everything is just really fun about this movie. It's just a fun, like, fungal zombie movie, and watching them survive is just a really fun time. It's pretty gnarly sometimes when it gets into the zombie stuff, and it's awesome when it wants to be. There's a cat that climbs up a building and kills itself in the most gnarly way possible in this movie, and it is awesome. There's a deer riding an elevator. It's awesome. A guy literally tells another character, "Open your mouth, I want to throw up in it." What else could you want? It is so cool. I just need to get Joe Keery and Georgina Campbell on screen together again in a different kind of movie, just to watch them talk to each other, because it's awesome. I loved it a lot. I don't have much negative to say about the movie. I wouldn't say it's perfect. Does it have perfect pacing? No. Does it have this and that? Absolutely not. But is it just a really fun time? Yes, and I would recommend it to everybody to watch. It's just so much chaos going on, and I love that a lot. And it's just my kind of movie, and I'm very appreciative of what it is. Next is another Georgina Campbell starring movie, and that is Psycho Killer. And I am just so unfortunately disappointed with this movie. I really try not to get my expectations high, but when you market your movie as the writer of Seven and a producer of Weapons, I'm gonna have some sort of expectations, and this one just really missed the mark for me. Number one, I love Georgina Campbell, but I feel like her character just doesn't get much. We're introduced to her and her husband initially, and we already know the husband's dead immediately. But after that, she doesn't get much of an arc. She just wants to find the killer, and that's it. There's nothing really there. I also, her character just kind of fell a little bit short, but then also just the movie itself is fairly tame and safe, and I don't like that. I feel like it could have been so much, like, I don't want to say the word like edgier, but it could have been like just so much more. The serial killer himself is just really uninteresting, and he's just another like satanic influenced guy, and that's just not really enough for me right now. I feel like they could have did a lot more with that even, but they don't really. He's just kind of evil and worships Satan. And then also he has this really like silly voice for some reason that sounds like he has a modulator, but he doesn't, and so it doesn't really fit. He also just sounds way cooler without the mask on, and it just works a lot better than with the mask on, which blows my mind. There's also a lot more of him, which I was pretty happy with than I initially expected, which was pretty cool. But man, he also just has some really uninteresting kills. I feel like they just kind of happen, aside from like the priest when he's drinking his blood, which was really fucking metal. And then also when he's killing all of the Satanists as well. But he's just slashing them in the side and then they die apparently. And that's just not really interesting for me. I need a little more. Also, there's no Psycho Killer needle drop, which feels like a fucking layup. Come on. Let's spread some of that budget for that. I feel like that'd been great. I was waiting for it the entire time. Even the credits doesn't have it. Even though the credits has a really cool a song. But yeah, there's just a lot of things in this movie that just felt really light when I feel like it could have been so much more. And I think that's just on me for getting my expectations too high. It happens sometimes. I wanted to like it a lot, but it just kind of fell short. And it happens sometimes. Maybe I'll give it a rewatch and see if I like it more with knowing what the movie is. Also, the twist that it's the same person does not make sense to me. It's kind of shoehorned in there, but it does not work at all. Also, the power plant stuff, that seems so outlandish. But then also the police aren't even trying. They don't try. The only one that does is Georgina Campbell. There's a certain moment in this movie where they're like, glass is bulletproof. Oh well, they don't even try. And then Georgina Campbell tries and it works. It doesn't make sense. It just blows my mind. Yeah, I just think it feels kind of clunky. The writing could have been a bit better. And I actually don't really care. Like, as long as your movie looks good and there's some cool shit going on, I don't really care about the writing. But I feel like for a movie like this specifically, it kind of needs to fall together. And it kind of doesn't really fall together. My best description of this is like a puzzle piece that looks like it fits, but when you pull it apart, it's like just really hard because you kind of had to force it in there. That's kind of how I'm feeling about this movie right now. And for the final movie this month I watched was Scream 7. I'm going to preface this with I love the Scream franchise. It's one of my favorites. No, it is my favorite franchise of all time. I love it so much. There's not a bad movie in this franchise, including 7. Do I love Scream 7? No. I feel like there's something missing there. I don't know what it is. Like, the film itself is fine. I think that it's a perfectly fine Scream movie, just with a very underwhelming and disappointing killer reveal. Oh my God. All 3 of them literally don't make sense. Even after the explanation, one of them literally dies without barely speaking at all. Like, no explanation, just an accomplice. And it's terrible. And then the other one just shows, like, they're both, all three of them are barely in the movie also. Like, I hate that. It's terrible mystery writing, and I don't like that at all. That's why I dislike the original Friday the 13th so much. I'm not a big fan of that. But what I am a big fan of is the greatest final girl ever, and that is Sydney Prescott Evans. She is so great. And I love the story between her and her daughter Tatum. And I love how much this movie itself mirrors the first movie. There's lots of same shots. There's even the same needle drop at a certain point. There's lots of cool stuff going on, actually. I love the Gale's introduction, but then also the twins' introduction to the movie after they kill the initial Ghostface. Awesome. Also, just the kills in general are really, really creative and awesome. There's McKenna Grace's death, also her best role I think I've ever seen her in, where just Ghostface is slicing her apart as she goes back and forth. It's really creative. And then also the bar tap kill, where Ghostface kills the guy and then do like a spiked bar handle, and as it tips forward, beer comes out of his mouth. Oh, it is so cool. I loved it so much. But no, I think my main issue with this is the killer reveals, and it feels like it just happens. All of these movies are paced really, really well. And I think this movie is also, it's just the ending feels like it comes out of nowhere. And the killers also just feel like they come out of nowhere. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of that, but it's a Scream movie. It's really, really hard for me to hate on a Scream movie. But I would say this, after initial watch, this is probably my least favorite one. I still don't think it's a bad movie, because I still don't think there's a bad Scream movie. Cold Open, also really cool, really, really neat. There's this really, really cool shot of Ghostface in the shadow, like Michael Myers in, what was that, Halloween 2018. Oh, really sweet. It was either that or Halloween Ends. I can't remember. I think it's 2018. Really, really cool. I love when he just appears out of the shadows. It's awesome. But also, man, I don't know. I feel like all of the characters are fine in this movie. They aren't the most compelling. I also like the majority of the characters in this movie. You know, I think aside from the killers, everyone was pretty likable. I mean, the twins are awesome. I love the twins. I love Gale. Love Neve Campbell. A lot of the new additions were pretty sweet. All of them fucking die, which I'm not too upset about. It gives us some pretty cool stuff going on. And this movie is like so funny. Like the entire theater was cracking up all of the time. I love that a lot. I've just finished watching this a couple hours ago, so this is all just fresh on my mind. Initial thoughts. I think after thinking about it some more, I'll probably have some differing opinions than I do right now. But as of right now, these are just what I'm thinking about. Also, big elephant in the room. Loved seeing Matthew Lillard on screen. As much as other people hate it, I think his integration makes sense. I think the AI integration is exactly what I thought it'd be, and it works, especially in 2026. I knew that they would delve into some sort of deep fake AI stuff, and I think they did it pretty well in a way that makes sense. They even give an explanation in the film as to how it would work, and it's 2026. Anything's fucking possible, and that works. It never convinced me that Stu was actually alive, but I think that integration of him works very well for me personally. But yeah, you know, Scream 7, not underwhelming in and of itself, but the killers specifically kind of bogged this movie down. But yeah, you know, it's like I said about Whistle earlier, it's still really, really hard for me to hate on a slasher film, and this is a slasher film. I love the formula. I love how they work. I love reveals, even though this one wasn't that great. I just love a good mystery, and it's fun. It's a fun time. It's a Scream movie adding on to this amazing franchise, and I'm not too upset about it. And with that, I'm going to conclude our 2026's February Horror Reel Roundup. On the screen now is our updated yearly tier list with all of the February releases. As you can see, Psycho Killer is down in the C- tier, and every other film that released this month is in the B tier. Cold Storage, Whistle, Scream 7, and Dracula. Now, as you can also see, all of the films from January have not changed. I still believe in all of those opinions. Maybe in March, some of the February ones will change a little bit. I guess we'll have to see. But regardless, I'd love to discuss more with you, so drop a comment down below if you have anything else to add to the conversation. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to me talk about all of the horror films I watched this month. And tune in next month for March's Horrorville Roundup, where we discuss all of the horror films that released in March of 2026. I also just released my very own short film venture. I'm very proud of it. If you'd like to give it a watch, I have it on a card somewhere with a link, and I hope that you enjoy it. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening. This has been Justin King's February Horror Reel Roundup.